Hello and welcome to the 12 Months to Marathon podcast with me, John Hill, the running podcast for the over 35s with Marathon Dreams, episode 56, The Danger of Data. I have talked about this before. I'm going to talk about it again based on some recent experiences that I've had and some questions that I've had as well. So what's going on with me at the moment? Well, I'm in Poland at the moment on my 2-week pilgrimage that I do every year here with my in-laws. And I've noticed some stuff which I'm going to share with you today, which will hopefully be useful. Also, I'm training for the Great North Run, as some of you know already, and also High Rocks. Been doing a lot more running here, and it's more set up for running. Obviously, I don't have a gym over here, so I'm going to do a bit more running here and mix up the intensities. I've had some good sessions. It's quite a flat place where I am here, and the weather's quite warm, but it's okay if you go out early enough. So that's what I've been doing over here at the moment, and I'll report back as we go. I'm looking forward to the Great North Run, I've got to be honest. I've seen a few posts about this and the number of people there, and I'm really looking forward to being part of this event, as it is one of the biggest events in the UK where I'm at. So yeah, looking forward to that. So why data can be dangerous. Now, the reason why I'm doing this is primarily because of something that happened to me last night as I record this, because when I'm here, I haven't got to do certain things because I'm technically on holiday. Now, I love what I do. I've got a lot of flexibility in terms of quote unquote the work that I do. So I can be even more flexible, as it were, when I'm here. And one of the things that I can do is get a little bit more sleep. I'm really focused on sleep as it is. If you want to check out my sleep workshop and my sleep masterclass, all you need to do is hop over to my paid podcast. The link will be in the description. It's only $7 a month and you can pick up the sleep masterclass in there. So I can sleep a little bit more. So one thing that was interesting was on my Garmin last night, I woke up a little bit earlier than I should, and I looked at my Garmin and I pressed one of the buttons, and what the Garmin did was registered that I was awake when I actually wasn't. And then I went back to sleep for another hour. Now, one thing I've been tracking while I've been here is my training readiness based on certain metrics, and one of those metrics being sleep. So I've had a couple of relatively intense workouts since I've been out here, and I've noticed how quickly I've recovered from those due to my improved sleep quality and quantity. Okay, so what happened was because my Garmin cut my sleep down by an hour, it then changed all those metrics more negatively. And my unconscious, important here, my first unconscious thought was, oh no, you're not in peak shape. But the truth was, I actually was, it just didn't record. And I think this is really, really important. And I think this is important based on some conversations that I've had, because let's be honest, all the devices are amazing. I love my Garmin. I've got the 265. It's a very good watch. I've tracked things like my heart rate and VO2 max on it compared to other things, and it's a really good predictor. It's all very useful, and it's interesting for me because bit of behind the magic curtain moment here. I have in the past traditionally never been big on data. I'm very much an intuitive person, but I think looking at how you can tweak certain parts of your training and your life to improve your performance, particularly in running, I think is really beneficial. Now, I do this personally because I want to perform better. I perform at a relatively good level for my circumstances, and also I want to do better at certain things. And to do that, I need to be careful around the data. So I have been tracking data a lot more, but this reminded me, and some questions I get in comments that I get on a day-to-day basis, reminds me of the dangers of being too reliant on a watch, being too reliant on data. Now, I said this on an Instagram post the other day. Feel free to follow me if you don't already at 12 Months to Marathon. And it was, the data should be a guide. It shouldn't be the only thing you look at. All right. So there's a wonderful expression which I've used in different contexts, but it's often used about money, which is money is a great servant, it's not a good master. As some of you know, I'm from primarily a weight loss coaching background, a fitness coaching background from when I started in the quote-unquote fitness game, and I use the same with calories. I say calories are a good servant, they're not a good master, and I think data in running terms is a good servant, it's not a good master, okay? So let's say you didn't wear a watch, didn't wear any sort of running device or anything like that, and you went to bed, for example, and woke up in the morning and you didn't have any tracking in place. You would only go on how you felt, okay? And you know your internal body battery. Yes, it's good to have metrics. It's good to watch for heart rate fluctuations. It's good to watch for breathing variations. It's good to watch for all these things. But we've also got to be very, very careful here that we're assuming that all this data is 100% accurate. Yeah, because the truth is, pun intended, these are tools. They're not the truth. Okay. Now, I actually felt fine this morning. So I thought to myself, right, I haven't got the accurate data, but how do I feel? I know I had enough sleep. The only thing that I was a bit quite annoyed about, which is still silly, was the fact that I like to know what my REM sleep is, and I also like to know what my deep sleep is. That's what I particularly like to know what my REM sleep is and my accurate REM sleep. Now, again, I'm working off the watch here, but that's something I do to know. So that was the only thing, right? Here's the problem, and this works on both sides of the coin, because actually, funny enough, someone in my running coaching program said they often have the reverse of this. Their watch will tell them they've had good sleep, but actually they feel tired. So here are some of the dangers. Now, firstly, you start second guessing yourself because you go against how you feel and you go what the watch is telling you. You become reactive instead of intuitive, and this is really important. And then you can deny or override your own internal signals, right? Now, let me make this relevant to a good old friend of ours, which I've talked about before, which is zone 2 training and heart rate training. Now, I can't tell you how many messages I get on a daily, weekly basis of people saying, my heart rate's too high, my heart rate goes too high, my heart rate goes too high. And I always ask the same question, how do you feel? And everybody says, I feel fine, but my tech watch was telling me my heart rate was too high. Okay. Now, if you let the data and the numbers drive the narrative, you will stop listening to your own body, okay? And trust me, from somebody that's run 15 marathons, from somebody that's run 2 sub-3 marathons after the age of 45, from somebody that's run their second fastest half marathon and third fastest half marathon this year, as I record this at the age of just turned 48, I do all those runs based on feel, and I use my watch as a guide. Example, when I'm running a marathon, particularly a marathon, I do it on a half as well, particularly a marathon, if I'm going for a time, so when I was going for my sub-3 in March, which is a big deal for me, I'm not saying that's relevant for everybody, but for me it was a big deal. What I did was, every time I hit a mile, I just had a look and just said, right, am I splits on point? I feel like they are, because of how I felt, but are they on point? So I used it as a guide. Whereas what I did last night in my sleep is unconsciously allowed my watch to dictate how I felt, okay? Unconsciously, and I had to have a little bit of a chat with myself. Right. I read a quote which was, you don't race with your Garmin telling you when to push or ease off. You race with your lungs, your legs, and your grit. And I quite like that, because you do. And you use it as a backup. So, and this is the other thing. Real training happens in your body. It doesn't happen on your watch. It doesn't tell you on an app. It happens in your body, okay? And data can't account for everything. And here are some examples of that. Firstly, nutrition, the quality of your nutrition, your stress levels necessarily. Now, what my Garmin will give me is a stress score, but that's based on, I think, heart rate fluctuations. That's not based on how you feel, okay? Now, you could have had a fight with your partner. You could have had an argument with somebody. You could have had a bad day at work. And these things can't be factored into your data. You could have had a bad night's sleep and then had a great run. I remember an example of this, and it was quite a traumatic experience where I didn't sleep. And I got up the next day and I was literally on pure adrenaline. I think I ran 10 miles and I was literally on pure adrenaline. And I did it relatively quick because I was on pure adrenaline. So these things don't automatically dictate both sides, positive and negative, okay? So we've all had days when the numbers say we feel awful, but then we've done a brilliant workout. And then we've also had the opposite, yeah? So we've just got to look at that. It's just a snapshot. It's not the whole picture. And we can't anchor ourselves to the data too much, because you're going to fall foul of underperformance, and in the zone 2 arena, potentially fads. Now, I did a podcast called "Is Zone 2 a Fad?" And the reason why I did that is just because of the amount of stuff that's out there about it, and the sort of wave, and secondly, how people get offended when you talk about it. That's a concern for me. That's That's bordering into propaganda. When people start getting offended by a concept, it's very odd, particularly running. And for those of you who are new to the podcast, I did speak about it on that podcast. I actually remember seeing a few posts online on Instagram where people had turned comments off. Now, you would usually get that on some kind of inflammatory political post or something like that. But this was on a running post about how fast you run. And I thought that's a problem for me because that's that propaganda type of thing. We're worried about what people think. Who cares? Genuinely, who cares? One question, how do I feel today? Do you feel okay? Go for a run. If you don't feel okay, don't. You can't always allow external things to dictate your performance, yeah? And you also can't just throw your watch in the bin. Do you know what I mean? Because I love this data. This data is really, really helping me and it's really helping my performance. But I'm not going to let it dictate to me who I am and what I am. That's up to me. I don't stop mid-marathon and go, oh, my watch is saying this, so I should pull back. I don't. I keep going because I understand the importance of how you feel. And I'll be honest, one of the first posts of mine that went viral was about how you feel at mile 22 of a marathon. It's got nothing to do with zone 2. You won't care what heart rate you're in. You won't care what trainers you're wearing. And you won't care how many gels you've had. What you'll care is, have I got this? And that comes from you. It's an internal barometer, okay? So you should always, here's some tips. Start the day by checking in with your body and your watch, but your body first, yeah? Let heart rate, and I heard this, and this was phrased very well. Let heart rate confirm effort, not dictate it. Use sleep to notice trends, not determine mood. And be okay when the data doesn't always look, quote unquote, the way it shouldn't do, okay? Because this is not an overall thing, it's just one thing. Now, one of the chats I have in my running coaching community at the moment is about the whole process. And I talked about this in a previous podcast called The Compound Effect. So when you're training for anything, particularly half marathon or marathon or further, when there's a bigger training plan in place, you've got to look at the whole thing. You can't just look at one workout. You don't miss a run and go, that's it, it's over. You go, well, okay, let's look at the whole thing. Example, when I did my first sub 3, I missed a 20-mile run because it snowed and I had to stay at home with my kids and the snow was too deep to run in. And if you want to come after me about that, I will shut you down because it's dangerous, first and foremost. But secondly, I had my kids at home anyway, so I couldn't go. And I was having that existential crisis in my head of, it's over, I've missed a run. It wasn't. You don't foul because you miss one run. You foul because you miss multiple runs across the whole thing. So that's a bit of reassurance there, just to let you know that it doesn't necessarily dictate the overall process. It's just one individual run. So if there's one thing I want you to take from today, it's never let the data override you and that internal barometer. And this stuff is a guide. Data is a guide, yeah? And it can't tell you how you feel. It can only sort of correlate, and that's the thing. One thing I learned many years ago in the fitness game was you've got to learn the difference between correlation and causation. And sometimes people get too caught up with causation, as in that causes that and that causes that. You can use correlation to your effect, which is this correlates that, which means that when this happens, this normally happens, but I'm not saying it's a definite thing that causes it, yeah? So don't lose your mind if the data on your watch is going against how you feel. And remember that it should be a guide and it should be a backup to your internal barometer. Because I promise you, if you're listening to this and you've got your first marathon coming up, yes, you need to follow the plan. Yes, you need the systems. Yes, you need the processes. But ultimately, you've got to be comfortable with yourself. Because if you're not, and your internal barometer and how you feel about yourself, it's not going to go the way you want it to. And that's a lot of the work that I do in my coaching program is around that particular area of the mindset and how you feel about the whole process. So that's episode 56, why data can be dangerous. So a couple of things. First and foremost, don't forget to like and follow the podcast. I do appreciate that, and subscribe where you can. Please give me a star rating on Spotify. I do appreciate it if you're a regular listener. It takes seconds and it means a lot to me, and Apple as well, so don't forget to do that. Number 2, if you're over 35, don't forget I've also started my free running community for the over 35s. It's totally free. A few people have been a bit nervous thinking, no, it is actually 100% free. You can join. Go to my bio at 12 months to marathon. Click the link tree there, and there's loads of things. You can follow me on Strava. You can subscribe to this podcast if you're not already subscribed to it, which I'm assuming that you are. And you can also join that community for over 35s. It's a place for us to connect away from social media, where we can share experiences, share wins, share obstacles, and just share everything as we progress on our journey of running and life together. So that's episode 56. Thank you very much for listening. I do appreciate it. As always, just if you don't already, follow me at 12 Months to Marathon on Instagram for your daily content and tips. Thanks very much for listening, and I look forward to speaking to you all very soon indeed.